And welcome inside the Backstage Pass. It is Thursday, January the 12th of 2023. Of course, presented by our friends over at Bangtail Whiskey, official sponsor of CRS 2023. Will be there March 13th to 15th at the Omni Hotel in Nashville, Tennessee with Bangtail Whiskey. Check them out, bangtail.com or easyliquor.com to get that bottle sent directly to your door. And also our friends at Honky Tonk Texas, good little dance hall down here in Texas, down here, full length of schedule, concert series, and all that good stuff at honkytonktexas.us. And a person that knows Texas very well was born here in Texas, and pleased to have her today. She's got a beautiful new single out now. Coming up here, it came out actually in September of last year, but it's still new in my end, called A Diamond Country. Texas native, born and raised. Whitney Miller joins us here on the Backstage Pass. Whitney, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me. I love that you're in Texas. Texas people got to stick together.
Well, hey, you've done a little bit of everything over your time. We were talking a little before the show. You had a very successful podcast, Miss United States 2012, kickboxing, being a commentator there, podcaster, Texas born and raised, living in Nashville now too. And you love to write, love to perform. You're very good at it too at the same time. I love the fact I love this new single too at the same time. But you've listened to a lot of great acts growing up, Hank Williams, Bonnie Raitt, things like that. Tell me about just your story and getting kind of like, I use the word smorgasbord, because you've done a little bit of everything, right?
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, I look back at my life and I feel like I've lived so many different lives at this point. But I'm definitely doing exactly what I want to be doing now. Like, I know that this is the right path for me. And I grew up, like I said, in Texas, and we were always hunting and fishing and out on the water, sailing as much as possible and surfing and all that. But yeah, I was really big into sports growing up, and I was a professional wake surfer in college. And a friend of mine asked me if I wanted to compete in Miss Texas, and I immediately said no, like, no, thank you. But I just had this feeling that if I didn't do it, I would regret it, as cliche as that sounds. And so a week later, I had a borrowed dress and borrowed shoes, and I borrowed absolutely everything. I was filling out my bio on my way to the pageant, and ended up winning the swimsuit portion and winning Miss Texas. And later that year was crowned Miss United States when I won that. And that was a whole journey and experience in and of itself. And from that point, I really wanted to challenge myself and challenge other people to think outside of the box what, a beauty pageant winner was. And I was training, a little bit of like fitness, kickboxing, cardio kickboxing. And then I decided, what happens if I say I'm going to take a fight and I'm going to go to full fight camp? And that's what I did. I went to full fight camp in Thailand, which was wild. I got my butt beat constantly. And I also did full fight camp in Santa Monica under bronze medalist Tony Jeffries out there, and took a fight and won the fight. I've done a lot of jiu-jitsu tournaments. I'm a blue belt in jiu-jitsu. Then I went into commentating for kickboxing, which was so much fun. Probably my favorite job I've ever had. I traveled the world every 6 weeks with two of my buddies and just talked about fighting, which was, I can't believe I got paid to do that. Then I started the podcast after that, which was really successful. And now finally, the one thing I've always wanted to do throughout any of those experiences was perform and create and write country music. But honestly, singing was my biggest fear, and it's still a fear that I'm working through. And so I don't have the story of performing in bars when I was, too young to even get in the bar, even performing in choir or anything like that. I was absolutely petrified and paralyzed to use my voice basically my entire life.
Oh, definitely, you had a good influence and a great taste in music. I mentioned Hank Williams and growing up with Bonnie Raitt and Johnny Cash, and your parents had a huge record collection too. I love that story about it. Tell me about just being influenced by those type of artists, and that led to, the Gretchen Wilsons and the Miranda Lamberts too, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, I just remember my dad always playing Bonnie Raitt and Johnny Cash, like we talked about, and really Hank Williams, and there's just something you can feel in it. And I remember dancing around the living room growing up, and I'm obsessed with Bonnie Raitt, and Susan Tedeschi too is also someone I just so look towards. And I kind of feel like they're just unapologetically themselves. It doesn't feel like they're trying to be something for anybody. They're not trying to put on this air that they're a performer or they're an artist. It's just, this is me and I sing songs and write them. And if you like it, great. And if not, turn it off. It doesn't matter. And I just love that mentality of it. And of course, Gretchen Wilson is, you know, like she's my idol. I just love that she just does not care. And that's what I try to bring into a lot of my music is I'm doing this for me. And as soon as I try to write a song for somebody or try to put on this, I don't know, kind of mask of someone I'm not, it doesn't really feel right to me. So I always have to just anchor back into what I learned through those musicians.
You know, I love this too because I do sports and music on this platform too, and they're so integrated together. One overlaps the other's brand. I mean, I have that coaching mentality. I've been an athlete. I've worked in professional sports, kind of the same lines you have of doing a little bit of everything. And just a jack of all trades, but a master of none, I guess you could say is the old saying. But at the same time, it's good to get your feet wet and do all that. You've done that with pageants, and pageants do the same thing. You mentioned about Miss Texas or Miss United States 2012. When you go that far and compete in competitions like that, just talk about, I mean, a lot of exposure, a lot of good attention gets brought to you. But, man, it really instills a lot of great confidence, doesn't it?
It does. It really does. I mean, you always hear different stories when it comes to pageants, right? It can be drama filled and it can be catty at times, but really for me personally, I had a very positive experience. And if anything, it taught me confidence. It taught me how to hold my own. It taught me great interview skills and public speaking skills. And so I think there's so much that you can gain from being in that arena and just wanting to compete in that way. You know, as we talked about, I mean, I've been an athlete since I was 4 years old. Like as soon as I can walk, I've played sports my entire life. And so I always had that discipline and confidence within that. But I think it, like you said, it does parlay into every area of your life. And now that I'm doing music, I take a lot of that mindset and a lot of the mindset lessons that I had to learn through competition into country music.
When you guys put out the first one, it's kind of like your baby. You'll never forget the first one. I know as a first-time dad, kind of the same expression there too, being a first-time father now with my daughter. You're always going to love the first one, I guess, more than they say. You love them all equally too. But I mean, the first one, you never forget that. The first single I'm getting at with Diamond Country, did you guys kind of have a plan? You knew what you wanted to do? Was this the title? Tell me all about the song, kind of how it came together and when you guys decided to release that in September.
Yeah, so I wrote that song with a friend of mine, Penny Painter, who's an amazing writer. And, you know, we've written a lot together recently, and she's really like a sister of mine at this point. And I went into the writing room that day and I was going through a breakup or something. And I just either wanted to write a huge party song to like get me out of the heartache, you know, and like distract me from that, which I'm very good at doing, or, you know, write a breakup song. And if you've listened to Diamond Country, you know, we went the big party, distract yourself song. And I pulled up a picture of Madonna and Miley Cyrus, I think it was, and they're just dripping in rhinestones and diamonds in this over the top country outfit. And I said, that's our inspiration. Like, that's the vibe that I want to go for. And I just hadn't heard anything really like that on country radio in a long time. And it's very different from anything that you do hear on country radio right now. And I liked that about it. It was a risk, you know, and there was parts in throughout the release of that I, even before I released it, I was doubting it. I was like, maybe we shouldn't go this route. Maybe I should release something that's a little more traditional, or more, you know, conservative or friendly for radio. But ultimately, that's not me. Ultimately, like, as you get to know me, I'm someone that just fully goes for it. And that's what Diamond Country was. That's what it stood for. And for me, you know, coming from a place where I was too terrified to sing my entire life, I certainly just wanted to do it my way. And if it failed, that's okay. Because to me, I pushed past my fear, which was the biggest accomplishment anyways. I was already winning. So that's why I was just like, let's go big on Diamond Country and do it unapologetically.
Now, after the single, of course, here we are, 2023. A lot of people making the New Year's resolutions. And I know for musicians, one thing I've learned doing this almost 4 years now is they never rest on their laurels. There's always something next to go in the can when it comes to singles. And maybe this leads to EPs or full-length albums. So I'm going to ask you that question. What's kind of next for the Whitney Miller camp?
I have my next single coming out next Friday, on January 20th. It's called 15 Minutes of Fame.
Like
and this one, the music I have coming is kind of a peek into my mind and heart now. Diamond Country is definitely an aspect of me, kind of like we talked about. But now this new music is a lot of the things that I was too afraid to say out loud, I think. And now I'm putting it into music, and it's giving me kind of that outlet to just go for it and not be afraid to say certain things. And so this next song, 15 Minutes of Fame, which you can pre-save now, which is so helpful for artists. And I know people are like, what does that even mean? It's just pre-save the song. It shows, that the algorithm and the playlist, they're like, oh, people are interested in this. Otherwise we can get like super buried between all of the songs that are coming out. But I'm so excited for that next single. It's one of my favorites so far. Every time I play it out, someone has an interesting story on how they relate to the song. And from there, I plan to release new music every 4 weeks. And just, yeah, I know. That's the reaction I get every time.
I like that.
Are you sure you want to do that?
No, it's a good idea when it comes to doing that, because a lot of people say you stay engaged. It's kind of like me. I try to do a show every day with this podcast, or every other day, to keep it current, keep it fresh, keep putting stuff out there too with content, because good content leads to other great opportunities, and people have a new artist of the day to feature here on the show. Or we do an athlete or something like that too. I believe really in the contact side of things too. Talk about this, because I think I saw somewhere, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you were in there in Nashville, so you get a chance to play. A good friend of mine, I think you did something, or we're on the same card, or a writer's round with Justin Love. Did I see that recently?
Yeah, me and Justin are great friends. I almost never do a writer's round without Justin, because I'm not the best guitar player. I can accompany myself, but like Justin Love is just such a brilliant, the nicest person I've ever met, and most supportive person I've ever met. But also he's an amazing musician, and can definitely play my songs better than I can. So I actually just played with him last night.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
See, I was current there too. We try to keep things current here on the
show.
And we do our homework. We got to.
Nice work.
Get a little something, get drops of tidbits and things like that. I try to keep my ear and eyes to the grind when it comes down to it. At least people, little birdies in my ear, be a fly on the wall, if you will.
Yeah, you got to.
That's how the business works, no doubt. We'll take a quick time out for our friends over at Bangtail Whiskey, the presenting sponsor and official whiskey sponsor of the Backstage Pass, and of course, the official whiskey sponsor of CRS Country Radio 13 to 15th in Nashville, Tennessee, at the Omni Hotel. You never know, Whitney may, I'm sure, pop by the Omni. If she is, she's welcome in our booth there to be a featured artist too at the same time. And our friends at Honky Tonk Texas, honkytonktexas.us for the website, and their first quarter concert series, I'm sure, is up and pretty much smoking right now when it comes down to one of the best little venues and hidden gems here in Silsbee, Texas. Down here's our friends over at Honky Tonk Texas. A word timeout from our sponsors. Coming back, more with Whitney Miller. We'll have more conversation here in just a little bit. It is the Backstage Pass, powered by the Sports Guys podcast.com. Hang tight, more to come.
The Bangtail pour is comprised of a sweet corn mash base. The front has a subtle sweetness and not too sharp. It has notes of a medium char or white oak for a smoky flavor in the middle, and the tail has a super smooth and warm finish.
Go behind the scenes with some of the biggest artists in music today with the Backstage Pass, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. Join Brandon Morrill and his co-host Kirsty Krause as they talk to rising stars and legends about their music careers. Listen to their latest tracks and learn fun facts about the men and women behind the music you love. And be sure to tune into the Backstage Pass Monday through Friday from 3:30 to 6:30, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. And welcome into the Backstage Pass. And back here on the show again, Whitney Miller joining us here on the Backstage Pass. Don't forget, tomorrow, Chevy Smith is going to come by the show. We'll talk about her newest project she has going on. It's actually due to a great project. I've got a chance to read a lot about that too. And exciting for the music industry and exciting for Chevy. And then, of course, coming up next week on Monday, the Texas legend, a guy you may know and have heard of, a guy named Pat Green, is going to come by this program here and talk to us about his newest album and, of course, what's going on here for the first quarter of the new year. And then February 7th, our good friend Dylan Carmichael is going to come on too as well here on the Backstage Pass. So some big-time heavyweights coming on here over the next few weeks. Stephanie Quayle, next Women of Country a few years ago. So a lot more good shows coming up over the next few weeks. Back here with Whitney Miller, presented by our friends at Bangtail Whiskey and Honky Tonk Texas.us. So I got to ask you, over the holidays, what did you do for fun? Did you have a chance to kind of wind down a little bit, spend time with family? What'd you do?
I did. Thank God. I needed it. So I came down to Texas, and I was in Texas for almost a month. And my family lives down in Rockport, so I went down to Rockport, which is a very kind of chill, sleepy fishing town, and basically did nothing. Just knew that I was going to hit the ground running in 2023, so I allowed myself to be a total vegetable for most of the time.
Which is a good thing. Any Christmas traditions that you were kind of like, from the food, the beverage side of things? What did you kind of go through with that? Was there any Christmas traditions? Was there anything new that happened for the first time?
That's a good question. I don't think we had anything new. Usually it's just, let's just sit around and drink as much as we can and eat as much as we can and shoot a deer while we're at it.
Yeah, I like that. I did not know. Did you get a deer? Did you shoot one?
Yes. Yeah. We got a doe.
Okay, all right. So I'm sure, and for me, I know the meat always turns out really good. I love to mix it with different things, and I that's hadn't been deer hunting since 2018, but I still miss the chance. There's something about being in the blind. There's something out there. You're in control, and if people have never been deer hunting, you don't know what it's like, man. It's a cool thing to do too. And I know with the new year, kind of being busy. What about, you mentioned last night, the writers around, things like that. Business has to keep picking up. And are you looking at doing some kind of a Whitney Miller tour, or just some live shows and kind of getting out there? Tell me about that a little bit.
Yeah, we're absolutely going to do that. We don't have anything nailed down just yet. We're still kind of in the planning stage of that, but I'm super excited to get out there and perform as much as possible. Like I said, because I'm doing, so much music, it's going to be hard to leave for a month or two here and there, but I'm really excited about it. Some things have been popping up. I'm going down to Daytona. I'm going to hop in a NASCAR for Forbes next month, which I cannot wait. I've always wanted to go fast in a car, and going to go out to Arizona for the Super Bowl and play a party out there. And
nice.
There's some bigger things that are coming up this year, but I definitely know one of these, during this year, we'll have a Whitney Miller live show tour at some point.
I'll count me in to be able to attend that too. And if I can make it, I for sure will, and be on the front row out there with my crew here, and we'll be able to take it all into, because I do love music out there too, no doubt about it. Hence why I do this program here, no doubt about it. Let me go here, because and live shows are one of my things. We'll go out there, we'll do video, my whole team will cover it, and it's like anything you haven't seen before. We do a lot of social media, hashtag this, and all kind of cool stuff out there. So I'm a Whitney Miller fan, and I would love to attend a show and get out there and just have a good time. Let me ask you this: when it comes down to obstacles, challenges in this business, we know that back in the 90s, it was very much a male-dominated business. Females still did kind of okay back in the 90s. And even today now, you see more of this stretch now where, we're getting the tributes for the late, great Loretta Lynn on these major shows, CMA Awards, things like this. To me, women are standing more in country, kind of on the front burner now. They're not on the back burner anymore. You see all this movement of Carly Pearce and Stephanie Quayle and Ashley McBride, and just so many great singers out there. I guess kind of a two-part question. Thoughts on the women of country music, the movement now, and then the second part of it being, what's your biggest obstacle you've had to overcome now going to this line of work?
Yeah, it's a great question. I really feel like it's unfortunate that we have to have a movement for women in country personally, but I don't think it's necessary. We're all artists. We all make amazing art, and it comes from our heart. And I feel like that should be celebrated regardless of if you're a male or a woman, but it's still something we have to deal with. I think it's still 13% of women are played on country radio as opposed to men, only 13%, which is just wild. Mm-hmm. My song Diamond Country is on the radio, which is awesome. A lot of the programmers that I've worked with have been very supportive of women and myself. So that's been a really great experience for me. But ultimately, I'm excited about it. I think we're finally to a point to where it's celebrated a bit more than it was. And I hope it keeps going that way. And I think it's only giving other women encouragement to get out there and try and see what they can make of it. And I think regardless of if you're a male or a woman, you're going to have to come up against obstacles, right? There's challenges in every aspect of our life. But really, to be honest with you, it's been really amazing to be in Nashville because everyone here is so collaborative. People really want to help you out. They know that you've been through the grind. They know that you're going through the grind. They've been doing the same thing. And that was actually very surprising to me when I moved here from Texas, which is, everyone's so nice there. We all want to help each other out. And so when you move to a different state, I was wondering if it was going to be a little bit harder. And I was pleasantly surprised to find out that people really want to help you out. They'll sit down with you. They'll grab a coffee with you. They invite you to their rounds. They'll set up a writing session with you. And so I feel very blessed in that. And I'm very excited to see where, the women of country movement and all of that goes. I think it's going to be a really fun time for everybody.
Yeah, and Will said there too. And then, there's always those challenges and those obstacles too. Like you said, 13%, a very staggering stat right there too, when you really break it down and think about it too at the same time, because so much great music is out there now, has been out there over the last 2 or 3 years. And I just love the way these award shows now are making more and more great artists, like some of those names I mentioned, kind of stand out and really, like I said, some of the tributes come back. And then, of course, I know looking at these award shows over the last couple of years, bringing back the women that paved the way in the 90s, like a Sarah Evans, and seeing a Terry Clark still be there, Shania Twain. I mean, all these great, Faith Hill, all these great people coming back to these award shows and doing what they're doing too as well. Patty Loveless just recently on the CMA Awards too as well with her duet with Chris Stapleton. So you can't forget the greats. And I always I told some people a while back, I was just talking to them, general conversations in the industry that I'm in. And I said, there'll never be another movement like that 90s country, late 80s to early 90s. That's, you could try to duplicate it, but it's the greatest era, I think, in music ever. And I know a lot of people would agree.
Good. Just so good. You put it on and you just can't be in a bad mood.
No, you can't. Like I said, and the minute you change the tune, something else is good as a Tracy Lawrence or a Clay Walker or Mark Chestnut or Tracy Byrd or something's coming on George Strait after that, and you just keep playing one good song. 3 chords in the truth. I guess that's why they came up with that expression, because it's so so true out there too. Let me ask you this: what success wise in crossing over and doing this? And you mentioned overcoming the fear at the same time. What's been, I guess, if there are 2 or 3 parts that have been just great about doing it? You mentioned overcoming the fear, but you mentioned the meeting people, the networking, and the relationships. But what's been your favorite part of this whole process since crossing over and living your dream?
Man, I feel like when I wake up, this star eye emoji, like that's how I feel like I go through my day. Like I cannot believe that I'm actually doing it. It's just like I try to go through life with this almost innocence of just being like, oh my God, this is awesome. Like CMT premiered my music video. What? Like, what is this life? But that's just been so cool. And honestly, I absolutely love performing. I mean, I want to get up there, and hopefully one day you'll get to see me live, maybe outside of a writer's round, because I love to move and dance, and like I'm super animated. Like that's just where I feel so alive and I have the best time. And I also love connecting with, any of the fans out there. I love hearing their take and their story on the lyrics that I wrote from my own personal experience, from my own personal stories. And I want to know how it affects them. And when I do writers rounds, that's one thing that I always encourage is, like afterwards, come up to me and talk to me and tell me your story and tell me what resonated with you. Tell me if you hated a song. Tell me if you liked a song. Like I want to know that and just be able to connect with people in like a deeper sense. And, sometimes I feel like it's very easy to get surface level conversations with strangers that you don't know, but for some reason when you're up there kind of spilling your heart out to everybody through your lyrics, when you start to go connect with those people after the show, they do the same. And I really do love that.
The Diamond Country does have that attitude I mentioned at the top, and you mentioned that real life stories, and I'm seeing more and more artists, write from the heart now and talk about life experiences and just having to live something to be able to put it down, or just have an experience kind of come up. They go through your life and they didn't expect this to happen, and off a wing and a prayer, something just happens and they get an idea from a song. The first single was, to me, it was like a real life story, and if that's any indication of what's next, I think you're coming from the heart and you're writing from past experiences, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. That's something that I try to pride myself on, is if I'm going to say a story, I want to say the whole story, and I don't want to sugarcoat it. And I've never really been that person. And I will literally take in my journal that no one in the world will have access to. But I will take my journal into these writing sessions and say, like, this is what came up for me recently, or this is what I was thinking, and just read from it and see what we can extrapolate and what we can make into a song. And I want it to be that way because I want people to feel that, you know. We already live in a world that's so filtered and you know, and so might as well just say what's on my mind and heart and hope that it can even just help one person at that point.
You remind me so much of that song, and is listening to Diamond Country. I mentioned the whole real world experience, and that song Sarah Evans put out years back, and I got a chance to talk to her about it here on the show and what it just meant to have a career in this business. And it's one thing to get into it, it's another thing to maintain it over succession number of years, picking the right songs and getting with the right co-writers and putting out the best music, the record label, the whole 9 yards. And she put out that song Born to Fly, and it changed her career dramatically. Of course, she had a bunch of hits, but you remind me so much of that visionary of someone born to fly, who's done a little bit of everything and wore all these hats, and now you're just spreading your wings. And I can't wait to see
ready
what's
for
next.
liftoff, Brandon. I'm ready for liftoff. Let's go, baby.
I'm ready for it too, because I just got to know your stuff back in September, and was looking so forward to talking to you on the show. It's been great, and I love the fact you're dreaming big, just like me, and that Born to Fly is something that's kind of the key cog, no doubt about it. Looking forward to seeing you on tour and doing all those good things. Let's do a couple more. I do a couple of fun ones to kind of end it in a little segment I call Rapid Fire, so this is always fun. And of course, this may take some thought, it may not. Do you remember the title of the first song you ever wrote, or what was the song about, if you don't remember the title?
I don't remember the title, but I know the song. I wrote with Matt Ostrander out of Texas. He used to play for Blue October, and it was about my ex being a liar.
It makes a great country song right there too. It's all you had to say. Ex being a liar. That's a great country song. There it is. Probably no plans to release that, right? No plans?
Not as of now.
Okay.
No, this next song, 15 Minutes of Fame, will cover that.
Can't wait to hear it. That comes out January 20th right now. You get Diamond Country across all the digital platforms out there. And next week, 15 Minutes of Fame, January 20th from Whitney Miller. Let me ask this. I was driving by on the interstate today, and I saw again, it was like Powerball, Mega Millions, boom, 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 and all those dollar signs. I was like, yeah, I got to go get me a ticket. Let's say Whitney Miller matched all 6 numbers. What's the first thing you do with the money?
I hope I wouldn't have a heart attack, but most likely I'd have a heart attack and pass out and die. No, my luck. My God. Oh, it makes me excited just thinking about it. I'm gonna go buy a ticket. What's the first thing I'm gonna do? Try not to lose that ticket. I'm notorious for losing things and misplacing it. Can you imagine? God, I don't know. I'd probably I'm a little bougie. I'm not gonna lie. I really like nice things. So I'd probably buy a private jet and then take all of my friends and my favorite people and family to the most beautiful, expensive place I could possibly think of, and just go all out.
What's your favorite food? What do you like to eat?
I love pasta.
There you go.
And I'm addicted to sushi as well. So those are probably my top 2. Also, crawfish. I'm a big crawfish eater, and I bet I can peel it faster than 99% of the people.
Probably can. I taught my wife how to peel crawfish when she was here, coming from San Antonio, because coming down to the Gulf Coast down here, everybody learns about crawfish, and then you have to learn how to peel it and become a quick expert at it too, which is definitely. And I'm right along with you. Pasta, the sushi, and of course the crawfish. I'm right there with you when it comes to select amount of foods and things that I have taste buds for. See, my thing is, if it doesn't taste good, I won't eat it. That's just how I am.
I'm the same way. I want it to taste good. Like. I don't ever follow like a very strict diet. I mean, I try to eat healthy, but I'm not going to eat it if it tastes like crap.
It's bland. I don't want nothing to do with it too.
No.
What do you get into on the tube as far as binge watching? What do you like to see on TV?
Oh man, I'm a reality TV junkie. Like just any sort of ridiculously mind-melting reality TV show like The Bachelor or The Housewives or Love Island or anything like that. Those are like my go-to. I also like psychological thrillers. I don't like horror movies, but I like psychological thrillers that have these twists and turns. And you just have no idea what's going to happen. Like, get me on the edge of my seat.
Were you a fan of the Breaking Bad?
Oh my God, I was obsessed with it. Still heartbroken that it's over. My God.
Me too. I'm very heartbroken that, and I know for me, the psychological side of things and the thrillers. And now I'm drawing a blank on it too. Jason Bateman was in it. Oh my God, it was on Netflix and it just ended. Man, I'm drawing a blank now. It just ended the big show he had on Netflix for years, and he had. I'm drawing a blank. It'll hit me here in a second, but that was one of my crime type shows. I loved it. He produced it. He wrote it, and I can't think of it right now. But Jason Bateman was the lead character, along with several people there that we just. And I tell you what, else I got into was Cobra Kai. I loved the Karate Kid growing up. So kickboxing, karate, kind of, because I'm also a black belt in Taekwondo, and so I love the fact to get into Cobra Kai and see those kids kind of give back too at the same time, and just what they did based on those main characters. Martin Cove, best actors out there for a long time. Loved what he did with Cobra Kai, and it made me go back and watch the original Karate Kids to better understand the new series they put out. So
very cool.
So cool stuff. So a lot of good shows out there right now too. At the same time, I cannot for the life of me think of that right now. Of what Jason Bateman starred in too. It's going to be one of those kind of head scratchers coming off the show there too. But it was on Netflix and it was a great series. But let me ask you this as we try to find the answer to that too. And I don't know why I'm not thinking of it right now. As far as the desserts, you mentioned food. I'm going to stay with the foodie kind of category. I love ice cream. The Ozarks. There you go. So you got it right. I could not think of it.
I had to look it up.
That's all good. Sometimes we have to. Dessert wise, what do you like? Ice cream, cake, pies? What do you enjoy?
You know, I'm not a big dessert fan. I can do without dessert. But what I can't do without is bread and pasta. And like, if I could just eat a loaf of bread with some really good butter on it, that's all I need. You can keep the cake, you can keep the cupcakes. Like, I don't really care about any of that. But if I had to choose like a dessert or like a sweet thing, it would be like Gushers. I like Gushers. I like candy more than I like desserts.
So if we go to the movie theater, you're always like up to the counter, you're like, give me that box of candy. The hell with a hot dog and nachos. Give me that box of candy.
Yeah, exactly. Give me that candy. Give me a Coke Icy while you're at it.
Yeah, exactly. It's 2 for 2 right there too.
Up on sugar so I can sit still for 3 hours.
I'd stay awake for the film too. Yeah. We'll take a quick time out. More with Whitney Miller here. We'll come back, put the finishing touches on what's been a great show here on the Backstage Pass presented by our friends over at Bangtail Whiskey and our friends at Honky Tonk Texas. Hang tight, coming right back.
The Bangtail pour is comprised of a sweet corn mash base. The front has a subtle sweetness and not too sharp. It has notes of a medium char or white oak for a smoky flavor in the middle, and the tail has a super smooth and warm finish.
Go behind the scenes with some of the biggest artists in music today with the Backstage Pass, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. Join Brandon Morrill and his co-host Kirsty Krause as they talk to rising stars and legends about their music careers. Listen to their latest tracks and learn fun facts about the men and women behind the music you love. And be sure to tune into the Backstage Pass Monday through Friday from 3:30 to 6:30, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. And welcome into the Backstage Pass. And back on the show again, thanks to our friends over at HonkyTonkTexas.us for sponsoring us, and of course our friends over at Bangtail Whiskey. I may have to drink some of that too with all this congestion and throat stuff going on too. But Bangtail Whiskey, the official whiskey of the Backstage Pass, and of course the official whiskey of CRS 2023. I got to say it again, she is a pleasure, such a beautiful lady to get to know. Whitney Miller Music.com is the website to go check everything out. Diamond Country is out there across all the digital platforms, and 15 Minutes of Fame will come out next week, Friday, January 20th. Whitney, this has been fun. Looking forward to doing this again. Hope you had a great time.
I did. I had an awesome time. Thank you so much for having me and talking about my story and getting Diamond Country out there. And I hope you guys really like 15 Minutes of Fame. And I love talking to my fans. So if you hit me up on Instagram, I do my best to really respond to almost every message I get. So let me know who you are, how's it going, what you think. And I just appreciate y'all. Thank you.
You got it. One of the best and bright stars up and coming tomorrow. Friend Chevy Smith will stop by. And then Monday, Pat Green here on the show. Looking forward to that one, too. It's kind of a dream interview of mine after loving Texas country so much down here. Whitney knows who Pat Green is. No doubt about that, too.
I'm listening to him every morning going to school and just singing at the top of my lungs. I love
What
Pat.
was your favorite song?
Man, I haven't listened to him in so long. Didn't he have a song, Wave on Wave?
There you go. That was my favorite. Exactly right. Wave on Wave to it. Saw him many times here, the Texas country artist, as I want to say, embarking on something like 30 years in the industry. My God, he's been around that long. It's crazy. Yeah. And looking forward to talking to a Texas country legend down here, too. We'll see you guys then, presented by our friends at Bangtail Whiskey and, of course, over at Honky Tonk Texas. Of course, CRS 2023, March 13 to 15 at the Omni Hotel. We'll be interviewing Nashville's best and brightest there at CRS 2023 and covering Media Day presented by Bangtail Whiskey and Honky Tonk Texas. Until then, see you tomorrow about 4 o'clock here on